Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome, good afternoon, and welcome graduates and recent graduates and students of the University of Leeds to this webinar. My name's Sydney. I'm a recent graduate who's working at the Career Centre at the moment. I'm a current graduate support intern. And yeah, we're really happy to welcome you to this webinar today, all about starting your career. That's what we're going to be talking about. Just some housekeeping before we start. I'd like to just remind everyone this webinar, it is going to be recorded. So while we're going out live, please feel welcome to ask any questions that you need to. If you do need to leave early, that's fine. The recording will be shared with you towards the end and over the next few days, along with lots of useful links of what kind of services you can access at the Career Centre here. Towards the end, we will be asking some pre-submitted questions. So thank you to everyone who submitted those. And like I said, ask questions throughout. We will hopefully have time to get to those. And yeah, I'd like to then just get along and I'd like to introduce Danielle Buckland. She's graduated with us at the University of 2009. She's now a managing recruitment consultant at the Graduate Recruitment Bureau. So good afternoon, Danielle, and welcome today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Sydney. Really nice to join you. Yes, absolutely. I graduated from Leeds a few years ago and yeah, work in graduate recruitment. So great to be with you today doing this job hunting masterclass.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I'm so excited to hear what we've got to say. Yeah.
Fabulous. So yes, let's get cracking then. So wonderful. Thanks, Sydney. So yeah, really happy to be doing this session with you again today. I did a session a couple of years ago, which was really successful. So today is all about getting hired. We're going to be doing a masterclass on great tips and advice on how to secure your dream career, but also looking at some of the hurdles that you might find on the way and things that you can do to really stand out in the workplace. So yeah, it's going to be a good session. There's going to be lots of insights, lots of great tips from not only myself and from my company, the Graduate Recruitment Bureau, but some great insight into just the graduate job search, your job search for you as well. So this session is going to be really useful for anyone who is just starting their final year of university, for anyone that's already graduated, and indeed if we've got any mature graduates with us that may have gone back to do a master's and are looking at ways to navigate the job hunt, there's some really good tips in today's session for you as well. So yeah, brilliant. So as we get going, I'd really love it if everyone, if you have any questions about your job search, please do whack them into the chat. There's some people on hand to filter through your questions, and we're going to try our best to get through as many of those today at the end of the session, where I'll be running a live Q&A. So any questions, please do ask. No questions are silly questions when it comes to your job search. So please do pop those in. Yeah, look forward to running through the session. So let's get going. Ooh. So wonderful. So I think you can see the presentation. Wonderful. So first up, so who am I? So let me give you just a little bit of an overview of my journey. So my name's Danielle Buckland. I'm a senior consultant at a company called Graduate Recruitment Bureau. Some of you may have heard of us. So I actually graduated from Leeds University back in 2009. I did a joint honours in philosophy and politics. And really interestingly, did a elective module with the careers service, which I absolutely loved at the time in my third year. And that gave me some really good insight into how to write a great CV, how to look for a great job, what sort of skills I wanted to use, but also gave me the confidence of sort of where to look and what sort of skills that I had that would be valuable in the workplace. So love that module. When I was in my final year of university, I did really actually want to become a recruitment consultant, and went into retail for a little bit after university. So I actually graduated off the back of the recession. So quite a similar situation to this where we're at right now off the back of COVID. And it was a difficult time to look for jobs. So I'll definitely be looking and reflecting at how it's sort of changed now post-COVID in the session. But yeah, I managed to get myself a job in graduate recruitment. I've been in the industry for nearly 12 years. So I've got lots of experience recruiting for a huge variety of organizations, from your FTSE 250 companies all the way through to lots of small and medium-sized organizations, and indeed startups as well. My personal specialism is I recruit into graduate roles like marketing, market research, analytics. We do PR, events, conference production, a huge variety of what we call commercial roles. But my experience does span most industries at graduate level. And as I said before, we'll go through some tips for people who are looking for jobs in every industry as we get going. So yeah, that was a little bit about me. So it's great to be back offering some advice to some people that were in my shoes a couple of years ago. So let's move on to the current situation. So yes, a couple of years ago, we were coming out of COVID, and there were definitely some challenges. But I'm really pleased to say that where we are now in 2022, it really does feel like a post-COVID situation. It is so positive. There are lots and lots of opportunities out there at the moment. There is very much a skills shortage in a lot of industries. Yeah, job vacancies are very much up. So at the beginning of 2022, graduate job vacancies were actually up 20% higher than they were pre-pandemic. So that just shows you lots of opportunities out there, and that's according to the ISE. And according to The Guardian, actually, a couple of months ago in the summer, there were actually 1 million more graduate jobs out there this summer than there were graduates. So again, lots of opportunities for you to find a job that you like and to get started in your career. So I do appreciate that there are some concerns from perhaps 2021, 2022, 2023 graduates about having perhaps a little bit less in terms of experience coming into the workplace. But my biggest bit of advice there is, don't panic. Everyone is in the same situation. No one is expecting you to have lots and lots of experiences. It is about trying to showcase the skills you do have from university, from the courses that you may have done, from your extracurriculars, and about putting your best foot forward. So it's really a brilliant time. A lot of companies have been hiring double the number of graduates this year because they didn't hire in previous years. That may slow a little bit over the coming couple of years, but I would just say go for it right now. It's a really good time to start looking if you haven't started already. Companies are, I think really interestingly, very, very interested in what graduates can bring to the table. So graduates might not have lots of experience, but you'll have loads of great ideas. You'll go into a lot of people go into a business and actually change up the way they work and offer new insights. So graduates are really seen as vital for a lot of organizations because you bring new ideas and fresh insight, but also those companies are looking for the future leaders of the business. So yeah, definitely a great time to look. There's a big skills shortage in lots of industries, and where companies can't find people with experience, they are going straight to graduates. So yeah, great time to be looking. We will talk about different industries as we progress, but yes, really, really positive post-COVID time. Great. So before we get moving on the next slide, I'd really like to say, if you can all see, there should be a banner below you somewhere from Slido. So I believe we are, we'd love you to get involved in one of our interactive questions about the biggest challenges that you've had in your job search so far. So what we'll be doing is looking at your answers, and then towards the end of the session, we will be reviewing, and that will lead into our Q&A, and hopefully I'll be able to offer some good insight. So yeah, do head to Slido, banner below, and do answer that question. Wonderful. So I guess one of the most important things is, where do you even look for a job? Okay, when you leave university, it can be a bit of a minefield as to where you even go, who to turn to for insight. Now, you are going to need to do some research yourself and spend a bit of time doing this, but there's lots of brilliant ways that you can look for a job. So first of all, I would suggest going to your careers service and having a look and seeing what skills you want to use and what jobs they recommend, perhaps any information they have on different industries. Just take your time having a look at different options that are out there to you from your degree background or with the skills that you want to use. We've got things like jobs boards, recruitment consultancies, LinkedIn, networking opportunities, and digital networking as well. So let's just go into those in a little bit more detail. So first things first, most people know about jobs boards. So you've got your typical jobs boards out there like Indeed, Reed, Monster, Glassdoor. These are fantastic places to register your CV. Okay, so get your CV registered, and what that means is you can then apply for the jobs that they have. But what it also means is that recruiters who work for lots of organizations will have access to your CV, and they may get in touch with you about jobs that they think you could be a really good fit for. So if you get your CV uploaded, it's a kind of almost a passive way of getting your CV in front of organizations, as well as an active way of applying for new jobs that might be uploaded on a daily basis. So definitely recommend that. And obviously looking for the jobs that are at the right level. So look for those entry-level jobs, those roles that say that they are graduate or entry-level. Your university careers site as well. They often advertise opportunities in the local area and nationally. So please do go and have a look and see what options are coming up. A lot of opportunities open up in the September and October to start in the next year. So it's always a good time to start your hunt, especially if you're moving into your final year of university. Another really good thing to use is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, register yourself a profile, upload your academics, talk about your experiences, almost treat it like a little bit of a CV. And a great tip here would be to add a little blurb about what sort of job you're looking for, what sort of location you're looking for, and there's even a button on there to say that you are looking for work. So that's a great thing to do as a graduate, because again, lots of companies and recruiters are looking through LinkedIn and they just might spot your profile. So if you haven't done it already, register with LinkedIn. And also another option to look at is recruitment consultancies. So GRB, we do graduate roles across lots of different industries. There are other organizations that do similar, and they recruit at that entry point. Now, if you know that you want to go into a particular industry, let's say analytics or supply chain, what I would recommend is going and having a look and seeing if you can find some specialist recruitment consultancies out there that actually work in supply chain or analytics, for example, and they will have opportunities at all levels. So they will have some good insight into which companies may have graduate roles as well. Okay. And what's a really good thing to do is really just plan your time with your job search. Use all of these different avenues in terms of where to look for a job. Sorry, I've just realized I am on the wrong slide. Never mind, you got the information. Yes, in terms of your planning, use all of these different opportunities, because different roles will be advertised in different ways. One company that's advertising a graduate scheme won't use all of these different avenues. They may use one or two. So get involved in all of them, and what is advertised in one place won't be advertised somewhere else. So you've got to just be really on it and really look as much as you can. Last little tip there is use networking as much as possible. So if you've got any friends that have got a graduate job, maybe ask them about their experiences with their current employer. If you've got any parents or friends' parents that work in certain industries, get in touch with them, ask them for some work experience, just get their insight into that particular industry. But that is a brilliant thing to do and can be priceless, because a lot of companies, when they're looking, you might not know about it and they might not be advertising, but if they know you exist and your CV's in front of them, they just might give you an interview. So yeah, jobs boards, recruiters, websites, LinkedIn, and don't forget a little bit of networking. And if you do all of that, you should stand yourself in good stead. So let's go to the right slide this time. So one really important thing to consider is which jobs should you actually go for? Okay, so there are so many different jobs out there. There's so many different industries. Some are really clear, some are a little bit more obscure, and you might not know about them. So take your time and really think, what do I want to do? You have larger organizations, like I mentioned, so perhaps the sort of bigger companies that might do the graduate schemes. The graduate schemes are the ones that often we hear about, but they are a minority of graduate roles. So it's only a small minority that are considered schemes, and they are often the rotational programs where you might rotate across different sectors within that company. So some of those companies recruit very early on, and you've got to get your application in early because those jobs are often filled by the April of that year, ready to start in September. But also you've got the majority of graduate jobs out there, which are the direct entry positions. So have a look and see where you might fit straight into a business at graduate level, but you are going straight into a particular sector rather than rotating across a business. So yeah, don't think that it's all about the schemes. They are brilliant, but there is equally some fantastic jobs out there that are what we are called direct entry. So one thing here I would say is, don't rule out any industries unless you've actually researched them. You know, sometimes people hear about an industry and they go, oh, I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to rule it out. Spend some time researching what that industry actually is. There are websites like Milkround and Prospects. I'm sure the Careers Service will have some insight into different jobs as well. And it's really worth spending your time looking at what you do want to do, and equally then ruling out things based on your knowledge of what you don't want to do. Yeah, one example here I think is sales. Sales is a huge industry. A lot of people hear about cold calling, for instance, and they don't want to do that. That's actually a small minority of jobs that have that cold calling aspect. And there's lots and lots of roles out there in sales that might be strategic. They might be working with clients and building relationships and offering solutions to problems. So definitely delve into those industries so that you know why you want to go for them. So top tip here is, when you do apply for jobs, really make sure that you can articulate exactly why you would like to go for that particular industry. Okay. What you don't want to do is send your CV out for lots of marketing jobs and then your CV say that you're looking for, let's say, a different industry like finance. So you've really got to tailor your search to those industries when you get going. But if you can really articulate why you want that industry, that goes a really long way in helping you to secure your job. Last little thing to think about here as well is, can you do the job? Okay, there's lots of different roles out there that are absolutely appropriate to any graduate. So as long as you have a degree, you are open to applying to a lot of graduate jobs out there. But there are, of course, some roles and some industries where you do need to have a little bit more of a specific background. So that might be finance, it might be healthcare, it might be analytics or engineering or IT. So make sure you look at the requirements and you really make sure that they are things that are going to be in line with the skills that you've got and the skills that you can bring to the table. Okay, so yeah, if you've got those programming skills and you want to use them, make sure you're applying for those jobs where they are on offer. And these are all things that are going to help you get that success in terms of hearing back from your application and getting your graduate job. So yeah, do your research. It is honestly the most important thing. So just a little reminder here in terms of if you do have any questions for me in the Q&A, do pop them into the chat, and we will be answering those towards the end. So how do you stand out in the job market? I think this is something that everyone wonders, and everyone thinks that they're just going to get lost and no one's going to see their application. It's just not true. You know, you've got, as a graduate, lots of companies are going to be really keen to look at your skills and experiences, and there is a lot that you can do to stand out. So I'm going to give you loads of tips and advice here in how to stand out. So yeah, let's move on with this bit. So your CV and possibly a cover letter are two of the most important things that you've got up your sleeve for your job search. So it is invaluable. Take your time writing a great CV, and you want your CV to be clear, concise, and give that information away. Okay, if your information isn't on your CV, a potential employer is never going to know that you've got that experience. So make sure it's on there. So what I would suggest is creating either a 2-page CV on Word. If you're using PDF, 1 page is absolutely fine, but you don't want it any longer. You want it to be 1 to 2 pages in length. Please do make sure that you have your academics on there. So I see this quite a lot. People forget to put their grades on, or they forget to really even mention their degree and put it in as an afterthought at the bottom. As a graduate, your most important bit of experience is going to be the fact that you have a degree. So please do put that near the top. Mention the modules that you've done, talk about your dissertation, talk about any exciting things that you've done that were maybe extracurricular or any unusual modules. A really, really good tip here is if you've done any business related modules or management related modules, pop those on there, because that kind of commercial edge can be really, really valuable to organizations. So yeah, pop your academics on there, and don't forget your A-levels or your A-level equivalents. I know it might seem like a little while ago, but these are still really, really important for a number of industries, especially the more analytical roles. So if you've got a maths A-level or a physics or chemistry A-level, something like that, that's more hard skills, or IT, please do pop those on there so that that potential employer can see that you've got that added skill set. So really important are your academics. A big tip here is to, at the top of your CV, have a little summary about what you're looking for and why you're a great candidate for that particular industry. So again, if you're looking at, let's say, operations as a career, pop in there a little blurb at the top saying that you're keen to get started in your career in operations. And what that means is when a potential employer looks at your CV, they will be able to see that that's the industry that you want to go for, and chances are will give you a call. So yeah, really, really important. Now, the rest of your CV, make it concise, great bullet points, make sure that you talk about the experiences that you have had. So quite often I hear from people and they don't think that their experience in retail or working behind a bar is important. I completely disagree. It's brilliant experience. So any of those experiences, however small, however short, pop them on your CV, because they're going to give you skills that perhaps you don't realize are actually really important, like communication skills, organizational skills. A lot of employers just like to see that you've had a job and you've been in a professional environment. So any of those experiences, put them on there. Yeah, and more now I'm seeing companies wanting to know about you as an individual. So if you have particular interests, whether that be gaming or programming or in your own time, or you enjoy baking, or you've got a really fantastic level of sporting achievement, please do put a little bit at the bottom of your CV about you as an individual, because that does make you stand out, and it does make you, companies are interested to find out about you as an individual, not just you as a graduate. So please do that as well. Again, if you are a master's level student, please do make sure that that information is on there, and add in any extra skills that you have gained over and above just your undergraduate level, because again, companies will be looking to look at those skills. It's often the case that actually if you have a master's degree, you're not necessarily going to get a higher salary, but you might get an interview a little bit more easily because you have something else to bring to the table. So please do pop that on there. If you are changing career, for instance, so say you have been working in a different industry, you've gone back and done a master's, and you're looking to navigate a new career, the same advice absolutely applies. Your skills from your previous experience are going to be very vital, so make sure they are on your CV. You may need to look at going back down to a graduate level role if you are looking to merge into a new sector completely, but often having prior experience does mean you can progress in that organization or in that industry a little bit quicker than if you are just coming out of your first undergraduate degree. Yeah, it's all good experience, and you've got to think you're an individual. What can you bring to the table? Don't worry about other people, because yeah, companies want to hire a variety of different types of graduates. So I'm also aware that some of you may have already graduated perhaps last year or the year before. You may have done an internship, or you may have done a placement, or something short. And then you feel like, oh gosh, I'm going back into the job hunt from the beginning. You're absolutely not. You now have some experience again to bring to the table. So even if you did an internship and it was a week or 2 months, fabulous, brilliant experience. Get that on your CV, and get talking about what you did, what you achieved, and think about how you can articulate exactly what you did and why that's relevant to your next job. So definitely get that on there as well. And yeah, when it comes to a cover letter, make sure your cover letter is really tailored to the job at hand, and make sure that it talks specifically about wanting to work for that organization. There's no point sending a cover letter if it's just general. You want it to be tailored to that business and that organization. Okay. Now, one thing that's cropped up since COVID has been hybrid working. So a lot of organizations out there are now doing hybrid working, especially in London. And normally that's sort of 2 to 3 days a week. So it's an interesting new dynamic. I think a lot of people are now open to it, but a lot of those companies do want you to still be living in a commutable distance, so that if they do need you in the office more often, you are available to actually get there more often. So you just have to balance where you're living, and make sure it's sort of within an hour of your potential job. Now, there are some companies that are very open to a completely remote role. You do have to look a little bit deeper for those opportunities. I've seen a lot advertised on LinkedIn. A lot of graduate jobs are hybrid, because they want you to get a really good experience. So if you're doing a training period for 6 months and it's quite intense, they're going to want you in the office to do your training and to be able to ask questions and pop your head up and get involved with your peers. So a lot of them do want you in the office quite a lot. But if you are in an unusual location, or you're looking to stay at home and there's not many graduate jobs in your local area, I would advise looking on LinkedIn, doing job searches for hybrid roles, going straight to company websites and having a look and seeing if they've got anything in the local area. But yeah, they are available. You just have to look for them. But if a job is very clearly hybrid, just be aware of that when you apply for it. You don't want to be disappointed if they do want you in the office a little bit more. If you're an international student, absolutely all of the same advice applies. A big tip here would be, if you are international, try thinking about applying for the bigger organizations that might have international offices, and also think about sending CVs directly to those businesses on their website. That just might get your CV ahead of the pile, if you know that they're the right kind of company that you would like to work for. So there's lots of different ways that you can get ahead. One great thing as well, again, to come back to, is networking. So if you want to really stand out, maybe give a company a call and say, are you hiring? And if they are the right kind of company, great. They might have something, or they might have some work experience to offer you. So think about doing a little bit of networking. It does push you out of your comfort zone, but actually a lot of companies are very open to having a conversation with you if you approach them directly. So definitely something to think about. Now, one question that came through prior to today was, what if you're not enjoying your job? How do you then sort of think about what's next and how to sort of stand out and go back into the job market? So I would really suggest here, if you're only a couple of months into your job, graduate jobs are quite hard in terms of the training period, and they're looking for you to get involved in lots of different things, and it can be quite intense for the first couple of months. So I would always say sit back and really kind of assess whether or not it's just the training period and the fact that the job is new to you that is what is making you kind of wobble a little bit. So think about really staying in your graduate job for at least 6 months to a year if you can, to gain that experience, because again, that's going to give you some great experience to put on your CV to help you with your second job. And there's a lot of companies out there that actually recruit at what we call second jobber level. So always good to add those extra skills and experiences. Now, if you've gone into an industry and you didn't enjoy it, or it was too pressurized, or it just wasn't using your skills in the right way, you've now got more knowledge to look at industries that are going to be right for you. So think about, again, the skills you want to be using, which industries use those skills, and which types of jobs are out there that are semi-related, that might be a little bit different, and be open to new opportunities. Recruiters might get in touch with you, or companies might get in touch with you about jobs you have absolutely no idea about. But if they're using the right kind of skills, that'll give you an idea about whether or not that next job is right for you. So yeah, you haven't gone back to scratch if you're not happy in your first job. You've got to look at your career as a long-term thing. A lot of people use it as a stepping stone over the years. It's great to get your dream job as a first job, but you've got to think realistically, what's going to get me there over time. And as you progress in your graduate job, there will be lots of opportunities to have there would have been lots of opportunities to develop your skill set within your current organisation, hopefully, as well. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a few little tips on how to stand out in the job market. Let's see if we can go back and look at the interactive question, the Slido question on your biggest hurdles that you faced whilst looking for a graduate job. So wonderful. So the results are in. So wow, so that's actually quite a big response there. So 50%, 54% of you, you felt that it was down to having enough experience. Okay, let's look at some of the other results. So secondarily, you're not sure what to do. Thirdly, struggle with the interview and assessment stage. Okay, so some of these things we are going to talk about in the rest of the session, especially things like interviews and assessment centres. Already given you a few tips on where to go and look and think about what you want to do. But yeah, really interestingly, that a lot of you feel like you don't have enough experience. So on my honest truth, I've placed thousands of graduates into such a variety of organizations, and I can absolutely tell you that the people that have the most experience don't necessarily get the job. Okay, if you have a placement or you've got some experiences around your degree, brilliant, and that will always aid you in terms of getting an interview. But when it comes to the interview, the biggest tip I can give you is be really confident on why you want to work for that organization, and be really clued up on why you would like to work in that particular role. Your communication skills and the way that you put yourself forward, the way that you show that passion for that industry and that passion for kickstarting your career is absolutely priceless. And I would actually say communication skills and passion for that job role are more important than having experience. So get your CV out there as much as possible, try and get through to interview as much as possible, and the rest will come down to your preparation. So yeah, I appreciate that a lot of you think, oh gosh, other people have more experience. Honestly, don't worry about it. Put your best foot forward and show that passion, and that is far more important. But great, really pleased loads of you answered that question. Fab. So if we go back to the presentation, wonderful. Yeah, so really good thing to cover next would be the in-demand skills that employers are looking for. So off the back of my first slide about the situation with COVID at the moment, I'm really pleased to say there are so many, well, not necessarily for the economy, but for graduates, it's really, really good time to be looking. There's lots of skills that are in demand all over the country and in lots of different industries. Lots of companies are really finding it difficult to recruit the skills that they need. So I'm going to give a few little tips here on the skills that we know in graduate recruitment that are particularly important at the moment. So one of which is analytics. So if you've got a maths degree, a science degree, something in engineering, something with a BSc in front of it, and you love working with numbers and doing some number crunching and solving problems, working with data, this is a massively in-demand skill. So get that on your CV. There's lots of different industries that use data and data analytics, and that's everything from e-commerce to literally analytics to healthcare to software, IT. It's hugely in demand, and analytics as a career path is very, very desirable, and you will always be in demand if you're using those skills. So yeah, that's one thing to definitely look for if you've got it. IT is another big one. It's a huge industry out there. If you have any programming languages, however basic, so that might be Python, for instance, that's very desirable at the moment. So even if you've just had a little dabble around with it at university, please do whack that on your CV. It's really, really desirable just to have those transferable experiences. So for instance, if you've used anything like MATLAB, Maple, R, Excel, all of those packages at university, some of them won't be used in the business world, but if you have those experiences, they're brilliant, they're transferable skills. Pop them on your CV. They are very much in demand. But anything in IT, you will get snapped up. So even if you've not done an IT degree, if you're really interested in working in the IT sector and you've got a few little skills that you can add to your CV, whack those on there. So that's highly desirable. Another one that might not be so obvious, there's a huge skills shortage in sales. So lots and lots of companies, especially now off the back of the last couple of years and COVID, are hiring lots and lots and lots of salespeople. So sales isn't just about, selling windows and doors. There's lots more to it. So you could be working with CEOs and having strategic conversations about how to sell business products or how to build relationships with global organizations. But yeah, if you've got some good experiences working to perhaps a target, or if you've done anything a little bit entrepreneurial at university, that could be setting up a stand and selling some products, or creating your own little Instagram shop. Anything like that that shows your business acumen and your entrepreneurial capabilities is, again, a fantastic skill to add to your CV. Again, some other things that if you've got these packages like SQL, Power BI, again, Python, all of those technical capabilities, they are brilliant to add to your CV. Now, no one is expecting you to pay for these courses if they're expensive. Just look at the free courses that are online. Perhaps look at YouTube. They have some brilliant videos up there of how to use some of these things, even just basic Excel. So really do give them a go, get that on your CV, however basic. These skills are in demand. But look, there's so many graduate jobs out there, whether your skills be in writing or research or kind of the softer skills versus the harder skills. You just need to look at what your skills are, what do you want to use, and make sure your CV is really tailoring you to the best of your ability. So, 1 year on. So yes, I think I already touched upon this, but yes, if you are a year on and you still haven't found your dream job and you're stuck in, or you feel stuck in something that you're not 100% happy with, just stay positive. Go back to basics, reassess the skills and the goals that you are looking for, and the skills that you want to be using. If you've been searching and you haven't secured anything a year down the line, my really the biggest bit of advice here I can give you is really look at the roles that you're applying for, and are you applying for jobs at the right level, and are you applying for jobs that you can do? So, you know, again, going back to, have you got the skills, have you got the capabilities for that job? And if you have, great, go for it. Make sure as well that they're jobs you really want to do. So there's no point applying for lots of jobs if you just don't want to do them, because that's going to come across at the interview process. So you've got to apply as much as possible for the skills you want to do. But I would imagine that almost everyone in this webinar today has either an undergraduate or a postgraduate, or is on track to receive one. So all of you will have brilliant skills to bring to the table. So there will be jobs out there that you can go for and you can apply for. But go back to basics if you're still looking, reassess the industries that are out there, perhaps go back and have a look at the other industries that you haven't yet considered or you may have already ruled out, and keep going with it. Stay positive, because you will get something. It almost is a little bit of a numbers game sometimes when you are applying. So in terms of getting through to that interview, so fingers crossed when you're doing your applications, you are getting through to some interviews. Now, you're not going to get through to every interview for every job that you apply for, but hopefully you will get through to quite a big amount if you follow all of the tips that I've given you today. But my biggest tip here, and I prepare people for interviews on a daily basis, is make sure that you are prepared. You cannot wing an interview. Prepare for this interview. You'll probably have between a couple of days and a couple of weeks to prepare for your interview. So make sure you do that up front. Make sure you have thoroughly researched the organization, and you can show a passion for what they do and what they're about, and you can articulate what they do. Make sure you've thoroughly researched the job at hand. So you want to go into that interview with a really confident ability to articulate what you think that job looks like and what you think you would be doing. You also want to really make sure you understand the format of that interview. So a lot of interviews are competency based. So that requires you to use things like the STAR technique, where you might be, they might be asking you questions about situations that you've been in. Okay, so really important to do your research and prepare around those competencies, because if a company is offering you an interview, they can see you've got the experience. You just need to make sure that you can talk about it, and equally know the format. If it's an assessment centre, make sure you've asked, is there going to be a case study? Is there going to be some sort of assessment? What do I need to do? And be as prepared as possible. A big tip here as well from myself is ask loads of questions. So when it comes to an interview, no questions are silly questions. You want to come out of that interview feeling like you understand that job as much as possible, because it is also, an interview is also for you to make that judgment about whether or not you would like to work there. So consider asking some great questions about the job, the company, the progression, the projects you might be working on, the skills, and asking those questions is going to show that company that you really want to work there and you want to know more. So yeah, really important. Again, if you don't get that interview, don't be disheartened. Use it as an opportunity to get feedback for the next one. So many times I've seen people do lots of interviews, and it's just the smallest thing that they need to tweak in order to actually secure that next one. So really, really important to go back to that company and say, can you offer me a little bit of feedback about why I didn't get that job? One thing to also mention here is that often people think, oh, if I didn't get the job, I wasn't good enough for it. That's absolutely not the case. Most of the time, you are just up against someone else that's equally as good as you. And it comes down to small little things. So you've just got to do your best, really do your preparation, ask loads of questions, and really make the most of every interview, whether that be for feedback or to learn and to ask questions. So yeah, really important to make the most of those as well. So another, before we move on to this next slide, another just little tip here as well is if you do get that job offer through, congratulations. It's a really good practice to accept that offer within a couple of days, bite their arm off with a bit of an acceptance, and really show that company that you would like to work for them. And if you decide that it is the wrong opportunity for you, let them know as soon as possible and use that as a learning curve. But yeah, hopefully lots of these tips will help you all in the right direction with getting that job offer through. So that's been mostly it for the job hunting masterclass. So hopefully there's been some really good tips there for you. For any of you that are listening today, we are the Graduate Recruitment Bureau. I've been working with the Graduate Recruitment Bureau for many years. We do recruit into lots of different industries. So if you're looking for IT, analytics, sales, finance, engineering, PR, events, a little bit of everything really, please do get registered with us. You can go to our website, which is www.grb.uk.com. And again, a little bit like a jobs board, you can upload your CV to us, and some of the specialists in-house, might be myself, will get in touch with you to have a chat with you about what you want to do, and we can also offer you some advice as well. I believe, may be coming to your careers fairs and freshers fairs as well this year. So do keep an eye out for us as well. But yeah, feel free to also link in with me if you'd like to ask me any questions, or link in with me after this session. Please do. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I think that's it for me. So Sydney, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you so much for that, Danielle. That was so helpful. I feel like I was just trying to soak in all of those little tips as a graduate myself. I know how anxiety inducing it is to be on the job hunt. So thank you for that. That was really, really helpful. I think we can move on to take some questions now. I think I mentioned in the intro, we've got some pre-submitted questions. If anyone still has any questions, or if they're struggling to answer it, just make sure you're signed into a Google account, just so that you can pop your questions down below, and hopefully we'll have enough time to get through to it. But apologies if not, because we do have quite a few. So yeah, let's start with the pre-submitted questions. We've had one come in from Megan, who asks, is there anything you wished you'd done differently when you were in your final year or after you graduated from university?
Yeah, this is an absolutely brilliant question. And I think hindsight is a wonderful thing. I wish I'd started job hunting a little bit earlier. I think I wish, doing the job I do, I now know of lots of different industries that are out there, and I had no idea. And had I been looking at things like supply chain or operations or different things like marketing in my final year, maybe I would have gone down a different route. But I just didn't know those options were out there. So yeah, I would start researching different industries earlier. I would start applying to graduate jobs in my final year. I did leave it until after I'd left university, which was absolutely fine. There is always going to be graduate jobs out there, whatever the time of year. So don't panic too much if you haven't been applying in your final year. It's not a problem. But you know, it's always good to at least try and get some applications out there sooner rather than later.
Definitely start sooner rather than later. Yeah, that's a really good tip. I think our next question we have from Anna, who wants to know how to use and what to put in LinkedIn. And is it even important? Isn't it important social network, or should we really be using it?
Yeah, no, great question. I tried to weave a little bit of that into the session today. So thanks for the question, Anna. It is really important. Companies do look at it and they want to see that it's sort of an appropriate, if you have a profile, you want it to be really professional. You want to have your experiences on there a little bit like a CV, but with less detail. And it does give you an option to put in a little bit about what kind of career you're looking for. Again, this is a really brilliant tool for job searching because lots of companies, for instance, let's say Google or someone like that, they have in-house recruiters and they use tools like LinkedIn to look for graduates that have the right skill set, and they may reach out to you to say, look, we've got a graduate job. So the more information that you can put on there, the better. The one bit of advice I would say is if you are applying for lots of, let's say, jobs in accounting, you probably don't want to put on there that you're looking for a job in advertising, you know, because a potential recruiter might look at it and you want it to be consistent.
Yeah, that's a really good tip to stay consistent on LinkedIn. I think it can be a bit of a minefield for my peers, and we think we might be good at social media in some areas. But yeah, it's good to have those tips about LinkedIn to stay consistent. So yeah, that one. I think we might have one or two more pre-submitted questions. So this came in from Ziki. He said, I'm a product design graduate and I want to develop a career or further study in finance, business, or the management area. I have no previous experience in these areas. And what would you suggest in order to get started in these new areas and to be more competitive in a job and master's program application? So,
Okay,
thank you.
great. Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And I think this is really relevant to a lot of people that perhaps do an undergraduate degree because they picked that course when they were 18 and then they decide, actually, I don't necessarily want to do that. Yeah, any desire to go into something a bit more commercial is always beneficial to businesses. Okay, so having that general interest is a great bonus. If you want to do a master's, great. That's going to give you a great little head up and it's going to show that you're interested in business and management. So that I would suggest, just, if you want to do that, it's going to be a brilliant add-on to your degree. And when you're applying for graduate jobs, you can then say, here's the evidence that I really want to go into a business-based role. Now, always reflect back on the skills that you do have from your undergraduate degree. So if you've done something like product design or something a little bit different to what you really want to do, really do look at the skills that are within that. So chances are within product design, you would have done some data analysis. You probably would have been doing quite a bit of creativity and maybe done some creative things. And those skills are still really transferable. So think of you as a unique individual. What can you bring to the table? And just emphasize again in your applications that you would like to have a career in that space. Because remember, it is all about your potential. It's about what you want to go into. It's not about what you've done already.
Yeah, we've got a question that's come in during the session that kind of tags onto that a little bit about how to boost your employability in an area. So this is from Alex, who says, is a PhD a good way to find job in research, or is work experience more important?
Yeah, this is a great question. So a PhD is obviously more academic. And it depends on the researcher roles that you want to go into. So if you're looking at more academic roles, yes, having the PhD is obviously going to stand you in good stead. If you're looking to move into a commercial opportunity, yeah, the trade-off is that some employers out there do look for PhDs, and you can search for PhD level in the job hunt. So I would recommend doing that. If your degree is more technical, that can stand you in really, really good stead for some particular roles in consultancy and analytics. But without knowing the actual subject, it's hard to say. But it's the nature of a PhD is it's an extra 3 years. Those 3 years are going to give you fantastic skills that an undergrad or a master's level is not going to have. So with your applications, even if they are not to a PhD level role, chances are that employer will take the PhD into consideration, and you may be offered something at a slightly higher level or a slightly higher salary, or something where you're going to progress and have opportunities for progression a little bit sooner. So I would definitely suggest and recommend applying for jobs that are both PhD level and just general entry level positions, because your skills are going to stand out. But again, you've got to highlight them on your CV, and again, articulate what you want to do in your application.
Yeah, brilliant. And just because you've mentioned CVs there, I'm going to pull up a CV question that we've had come in during the session. So this is from Sophie, who says, would you recommend making a general CV for all employers, or would you keep it a bit more specific, so to suit different types of employers when applying to different sectors?
Thank you for your question, Sophie. That's a great question. Yes, I would recommend having two. If you have a general CV, I would use that general CV for things like jobs boards, or sending out or putting something on LinkedIn maybe, or if you're not sure what the opportunities are with that particular organization, feel free to just have a general CV. However, if you are applying to a particular job, the more you can tailor your CV to that particular job, the higher chance you will have of getting an interview for that particular opportunity.
Brilliant. Yeah, another CV one we've got. Lots of CV questions. It's clearly a point. It makes us all anxious.
Yeah, go for it.
Like writing them. So we've got one from Hamza, who asked for applicants with more than 10 years experience. Can the CV go above 2 pages? Or
it's really, really tricky. I mean, in all honesty, anything past the second page, it just does by the fourth page, no one's reading it. So you want it to be as concise as possible. If you've got 10 years experience, you know, maybe 3 pages at a push, as long as you're being really concise with your experiences. And you know, I'd really sort of question, you know, what's on that fourth page? Is it things you did so long ago that actually it's not relevant? Maybe cut down some of the bullet points and just talk about some of the core skills or key experiences that you've got. But certainly you've got to think that first page is what gets read the most. Second page, your further experience. By the end of the third page, you know, it's chances are that bit's not going to get read so much. So I certainly wouldn't go to 4 pages if I was you.
Brilliant. And then on again, what employers are going to be reading, cover letters. We've had a few questions about these. So Joshua wants to know, would it be better to focus on demonstrating your passion for a job in your cover letter, or is it better to focus just on the skill?
Absolutely both, Joshua. Again, really, really good question. So with that cover letter, what you want to do is have, you know, this doesn't need to be an essay in length, or 3 really good paragraphs would be brilliant. So if you have a paragraph talking about why you're interested in the business that you're applying for, and don't just say the obvious, really make it clear that you've done your research into that business. I'd then have a bit about the job and why the actual job itself appeals to you. And then I would have a paragraph about your skills and why you think your skills are tailored to that role. So what you're then doing is alluding to all the reasons why you're interested in the role and the business, and you're alluding to the skills that you would like to use and that you can bring to the table, and you're ticking all of those boxes. So think of it as almost like a great paragraph for each one of those aspects. But yeah, you want that cover letter to be short and concise, but straight to the point, and yeah, get your skills, talk about your skills as much as possible.
Great structuring techniques. I always need help structuring a CV. I'm going to have to follow that order next time. Thank you. And I think we've got time for just one last one. One last one's come through. Lydia, who says, is there a best time to apply for grad jobs? I'm planning on traveling from January to April, or maybe a bit longer. Would I be missing an opportunity to apply for a round of grad jobs if I go away for this time?
That is another brilliant question. Thank you, Lydia. So if you think of it on a cyclical scale, I don't know, Lydia, if you've already graduated or what your timescales are like at the moment in terms of where you're at with your search. But if you're going into your final year of university, the jobs and the graduate schemes that are available for the coming summer, a lot of them open up in the September and October. So you need to be thinking, right, I need to apply for these jobs now in my final year. A lot of those companies that do the grad schemes will open up those applications in, let's say, September, ready for assessment centres before Christmas and just after Christmas. So if you're going into your final year, apply for the jobs that you'd like the look of and see if you can get some interviews before the Christmas. If you're going traveling January to April, you must have already graduated. So apply now for those jobs, because you might be able to secure one for before you go away, which would be great. With the direct entry roles, normally a lot of companies hire because they have an upcoming need. So that job will be available to start imminently or within a month or so. So if you're going away January to April, you're probably going to struggle to get a direct entry job before that. So what I would suggest is apply for the graduate schemes now, or the ones that start next summer, and see how far you get. Or wait until you come back. So April's a great time to actually be hiring for a lot of companies. You will be up against next year's graduates, but that's absolutely fine. A lot of companies will open the doors and say, right, we're looking for a graduate to start in, let's say, April, May, June, July, August. And it's a brilliant time for you to apply for those direct entry jobs when you're back. So I wouldn't panic if you haven't secured something before you go away at all. There will be loads of opportunities when you come back.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. I think there is a panic about that, isn't it? That there needs to be some urgency to find these roles or for us to apply. So thank you for even just saying that, to just don't panic. They'll be there. Yeah.
honestly, it's really important. Don't panic. There are companies hiring all year round. Even, January is another good time for companies to start hiring again for grads. So, if it's a January job, they're only going to be looking at people that have already graduated. So just keep going with your job search and use the tips that have been in the session today, and hopefully you'll get your dream job shortly. So is that it for questions, or do we have any others coming through?
I think that's it for questions. Thank you so much. That's been some really good advice there, Danielle. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining today. Hopefully it's been a good session and you've got some good tips. But yeah, pleasure to give back to Leeds University, and more than happy for anyone to link in with me. So it's Danielle Buckland on LinkedIn. We may be able to help you with your job search as well. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really great to speak to everyone today.
Danielle, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much everyone for submitting all your questions. I'm really sorry if we couldn't get through to them all. There will be an email address that you can submit any questions to, and like I mentioned in the intro, we will be sending out some further information just with links and tips on how to use the services. Remember that the careers service here at Uni of Leeds, it is here for life, so do use us. Don't forget about us. We're here to help you. So book appointments with us, engage on My Career. And for anyone who joined late, just remember the full webinar. We have been recording this, so you can access this at any time if you want to get any of those notes down and any of these advice. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you again to Danielle for coming back and having this. It's been wonderful. Thank you.